Greenwich Park is part of the Greenwich Maritime World Heritage Site and a Grade 1 registered park. It is characterized by undulating hills and gravel terraces which level out towards the river, where the formality and symmetry of the park, redesigned in the 1660s by André Le Nôtre, comes into relationship with the group of buildings known as Greenwich Palace. The foreground of the formal view includes the park and Greenwich Town Centre. The middle ground is the flat plain of the river valley. In the west, the middle ground is distinguished from the foreground by a ridge. To the east, a range of houses and terraces predominantly from the 18th and 19th centuries creates a largely uniform setting with articulated roof lines and chimneys providing detail. From here, the ribbon of the Thames opens up and sweeps around to reveal a riverside dominated by industry and docks and the densely developed eastern suburbs of London. This is an important element of the view.
INQ 017905, please. Simply for us to have it in mind before we turn to the 1st of November on a subsequent date in this inquiry. Can you take us back to 017901, just so we get our bearings? We're going to hear, Mr. Maskell, from Mr. Scaramella in the inquiry. Does this graphic reflect the present state of the evidence as to where he and Mr. Litvinenko were positioned in Itsu on the 1st of November? Yes. Mr. Scaramella was asked to indicate where he sat, where Mr. Litvinenko sat, and they were plotted on a sketch plan by himself, which was subsequently replicated on this graphic. The next page, please. Can you help us navigate this graphic? Start with the top left-hand corner, please. Yes, this is the basement of Itsu, and the shop is on ground level. The till is as you walk into the shop, and you walk past the till, and on the left-hand side there's a flight of steps that come down, which is the flight of steps you see there. When you get to the bottom, you can either turn left into the larger area, or right where there are 3 separate type booths. If we can come out again, there's 3 camera angles. The first reference is looking plainly the way it's looking from left to right of the overall plan. Yes. The second is effectively the reverse angle. That's correct. The third is looking in at the table with Messrs. Scaramella and Litvinenko marked on it. Yes, in essence, that's the view you'd have if you looked as walking down the stairs you'd look right.
Viewing location 5A includes 2 assessment points. The view from the statue at assessment point 5A1 takes in the formal axial arrangement between Greenwich Palace and the Queen's House. The view also includes Greenwich Reach and the tall buildings on the Isle of Dogs. The eastern extent of the panorama is towards central London and St. Paul's Cathedral. This is best seen from assessment point 5A2 and includes a protected vista towards the cathedral. Development on the river edge at Deptford should help to reinforce the composition of the existing view. The low-rise nature of the axial view to Greenwich Palace in the front and middle ground should be preserved with the cluster of tall buildings at Canary Wharf across the river, providing layers and depth to the understanding of the panorama. The composition of the view would benefit from further incremental consolidation of the clusters of tall buildings on the Isle of Dogs in the City of London. However, any consolidation of clustering of taller buildings on the Isle of Dogs needs to consider how the significance of the axis view from the Royal Observatory towards Queen Mary's house could be appreciated. The flat plain of the river and the suburbs beyond are interrupted by a scattering of post-war public housing towers, which compromise the full experience of the view, and in particular, obscure the grain of central London beyond.
We now come to the summary of the forensic analysis here. The contamination on what is in effect the corner table is evident. Yes. Including one part of the bench with a reading in the 3 to 3,000 counts per second range? That's correct. The higher readings were found at a different location to that which Mr. Litvinenko and Mr. Scaramella sat during their meeting. Just follow the document through. It's really a more detailed assessment of the same, but we can see the nature of the tables in these photographs at least, and the benches. So it appears to be fixed seating with roll-top backs to the benches and seats? Yes. The tables and chairs are as they were. They wouldn't have been moved.
Recognize and appreciate. The phrase recognize and appreciate is a quantitative measure and concerns the ability of the viewer to see critical parts of a landmark that make up its recognizable composition. The clarity of the landmark will be affected by a number of factors, including distance, weather, and atmospheric conditions. The word appreciate is a qualitative measure that concerns the way a landmark is perceived. This will be affected by its relationship to other objects nearby in the townscape, the space around the landmark, and the degree to which objects in the foreground, middle ground, and background interrupt the visual enjoyment of it. The view can be greatly affected by the quality of the elements in the foreground, which may be of different textures, materials, colors, and forms. The middle ground is an important element that leads from the foreground to the principal foci of the view. The grain of the development, including roof lines, colors, and materials, often reveals a patchwork of different areas where character may vary in a subtle or radically different way. The middle ground is often an area of transition, most often formed by lower-scale development merging with a more intense commercial core. Development in the foreground and middle ground that is overly intrusive, unsightly, or prominent to the detriment of the view as a whole should be refused. The background of London panoramas includes the area beyond the principal focus of the buildings within the designated view and plays an important role in a person's ability to recognize and appreciate strategically important landmarks in the view. Development that is noticeable in the background of London panoramas should be of high quality in execution and should provide landmarks with an appropriate setting. New development should comply with the requirements for the wider setting consultation areas of protected vistas where they apply.
Can we have up on screen, please, INQ 017228? Here's a plan of Itsu. This is a plan of the ground floor of Itsu, and it's got some handwritten words on it. Can you see that? Yes. Just tell us, where do you come into the restaurant from? Is it from the right-hand side? From the entrance on the right, yes, exactly. You come in, and did Mr. Litvinenko then pick up some sushi from the cabinet there? Yes. Then did he go to the counter and get the soup where you've marked it and paid for it there? Yes. Then did the two of you then go downstairs to sit down? Yes. So if we can then please have INQ 006199. This is a plan of the downstairs. On the plan, there's the stairs going down and they go round a corner. Do you see those stairs marked there? Yes. So you come down the stairs and you get to the bottom of them, and we can see that to your right, it looks like there are 3 tables there with a bench on either side of each of them. Is that right? Yes, I confirm. We'll see some pictures of this in a second, but on this plan, have you marked the places where you and Mr. Litvinenko sat down? Yes, that's my handwriting in there, so it's my X. Can we have INQ 017226, please? It needs a bit of mental gymnastics, but this is the table that's nearer the other wall and just on the right-hand side of that photo. You can see the bench that you're sitting on. Is that right? Yes, sir. i.e. facing Mr. Litvinenko across that table. Yes, sir. And then 903, please. If we just enlarge the left-hand half, you can see that there's the table in the bottom left-hand corner, and the 2 benches either side of it have got some green markings on, which are where there was polonium contamination. Can you confirm that it was not at that table that you were sitting? Not our seat, and nobody was seated there. We were alone. I think he also mentioned the Itsu restaurant. That's right, he asked me, have you ever been to Itsu restaurant, which is down to Green Park on the left-hand side? And I said, yes, I'm passing every other day, because I take Green Park tube station. And I said, yes. And I think he asked me, did you like it, or have you had food ever there? Yes. Apparently he liked there somehow, because he liked the leather. I don't know about now, but before they had sort of leather chairs, and he definitely feels quite comfortable there. Yes, I think we have heard evidence it was one of his favourite restaurants. In fact, I think we'll probably hear that he was on his way to Itsu when he spent the time with you on that day.